Hello, everyone. Hello. Thank you for joining us today for for Center for Black Equity's community conversations. Again, my name is Kenya Hutton. I serve as a deputy director of this organization, and today we have a quite interesting talk. We're going to be having a conversation with author Jasmine Christine Ford of Flight of the Beautiful Lie. I don't even want to tell you, as you can see, I have like notes from the book. The book is great. It's available at Barnes & Nobles. That's the full cover. I will be showing a bit.ly on the bottom of the screen where you can buy the book. bit.ly/Flight of a Beautiful Lie. So without further ado, everybody, you don't want to hear me talk. Y'all hear me talk all the time. I'm going to bring up author Jasmine Christine Ford.
Hi, everyone. Hi.
Hey, how are you, Jasmine?
I am blessed and highly favored and happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. No problem. Thank you for joining us. And I couldn't think of a better way to end Pride Month with a conversation about this book. This book, gosh, I don't even know where to start. Let's start off with, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm Jasmine Christine Ford. I'm 49 years old. I'm proudly transgendered. I work at Virginia Department of Health, and I'm here. You know what? I wrote a book during COVID, right? During a time where we all were locked down, we had nowhere to go. And I began to actually journal my past, trying to like heal my past while I had time. Mm-hmm. And then like one page turned into 10 and turned into a complete chapter. And then bam, like 9 months later, I had a 335 page manuscript that I had to edit down to like 310 pages. So yes.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's so awesome. Oh, that's so awesome. That's so awesome. Let's dive into this book. So you said you was writing your memoirs, right? You started journaling. What made you decide to really dig in and start to journal some of your past?
Yeah, well, at my age, I thought that I was healed from my past because I experienced sexual abuse. I experienced child neglect, and I experienced, some silicone injections that went wrong, a bunch of stuff that I experienced in my past. And I thought that because I had moved on and I was not dead, I was not in jail, I was not on drugs, that I had healed, but I was not healed. And I realized I was not healed because as I was writing my book, it was emotional. Like chapter 4, like it was gut-wrenching to kind of reach back into my past and kind of like pull forward all of these memories that I thought that, you know what, it happened to me like 35, 45 years ago. But as I was writing, I was in so much pain. It was very fresh. So I said, you know what, I'm not healed. I'm not healed from sexual abuse. I'm not healed from being raped at 17. I'm not healed from my mother having schizophrenia and not being able to raise her children. I'm not healed. And because I was not healed, I made life decisions that weren't the best. I didn't make the best choices. And, 30 years, 40 years later, I can say, you know what, that's why I did that. That's why I let that man beat the hell out of me and didn't leave, because I was, I thought I wanted love, and I thought that, because when a man says, "Just I love you," he really means it, and then he'll beat me up and then have sex, and I thought that was normal. So a lot of the pains I thought that I kind of like lived through, and that was normal. But it's not.
It's not normal. Yeah. Oh my God. So let's talk about Aunt Mary.
Yes.
Let's talk about Aunt Mary. Tell us about who was Aunt Mary to you. Don't tell us about the book, but just
Absolutely. My Aunt Mary was, gosh, she was my great aunt who married my great uncle. She was someone who was really stoic. She was very old fashioned. She had a very old fashioned kind of concept of sex and sexuality. She was from the South when she raised me. So when she got me, she was already like 57, 58. I was about 7. So she was like stuck in her ways. She was a little sick. She had chronic hypertension and some diabetes. But she loved us, but she loved me in a very special way. She didn't give me everything that I thought that I needed, but she gave me the essentials to survive. And I, how these old folks say, you're gonna, miss me when I'm gone. You're going to know what I'm talking about when I'm gone. And growing up, says, "Oh, she is so old-fashioned." Growing up, and her point of view are so antiquated, and I can't really deal with her. And then as I grew into adulthood and kind of like went on my own, a lot of those Mary Johnson isms that she would throw out came back, and I realized, wow, she was very wise.
Yeah.
And there's more to life than just a sway. I call it a sexual sway. There's more to me than just a look or a sway. Right. Because for many years I thought that I identified who I was based on body shape. When you're transgendered, you hear the narrative that you want body yada yada, and you want to be very, very passable, and whatever that means. And those things define who you are. They define your journey through your transition. No one really talks about being a woman and what being a woman is. Women are sacrificial, and they want to be educated, and they all the other attributes about being a woman. Trans women just don't learn, unfortunately. So.
Wow. Aunt Mary, I loved everything you wrote about her in the book. I did. Kenneth.
Yes.
You touched on a little bit before, but tell us about Kenneth. A little bit about Kenneth. Sure.
Kenneth was, and when I say was, they all passed away. Kenneth was charismatic. He was dynamic. He was someone in a family. He was not my blood relative. He was a relative through marriage. But he was someone that everyone thought was so funny and so gregarious, and but everyone had like an inside joke about him being very sexual, about kids not being around him. So it was kind of strange growing up in a household where he was welcomed to live and to stay and to spend nights, but there was a rumor going around, or people were fearful to leave their children around him. And I speak in a book about we have to really just call things out.
Yeah.
call things for what they are. He was a pedophile. This was common knowledge, because people in my family didn't want to leave children around him by himself. There's a reason for that. There's a reason why you don't want your kids around a particular member of the family, because he's been known to touch children inappropriately. But because I was a male child, and this is where you have to be very mindful. Because I was a male child, people didn't protect me as much. They were so busy watching the little girls that they didn't watch the little boy.
Right.
And I became extremely vulnerable to the grooming process, because I was a weird kid. I was new to the household. I was just really like adopted within the family. I was feminine. I was I didn't really have a sense of self then. I had a profound stutter. So when someone like that kind of takes you under their wing, and others are calling you faggot and punk and sissy, but they're telling you, be who you are, and it's okay that you're feminine. They're grooming you. He was grooming me way before we had our sexual encounter.
Wow. You talking because that's actually a common theme in a lot of households where there's knowledge of someone that is doing these things, but they don't protect, like you said, they don't protect the little boys. They always worry about the girl, but pedophilia happens to boys as well.
Absolutely.
And I'm bordering trying not to talk too much about everything.
That's it.
Because I want to dive in, but I want to leave some things for the readers. You talk a bit about a triple life at one point in the book, at about 103, page 103. Mm-hmm. You talk about having a triple life with your girlfriend. Your girlfriend knew both sides of you, because they knew your drag self, and then Diane knew you as her boyfriend, but few truly understood the struggles going on inside between you and God.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about that. What was the struggles like that you were experiencing?
Yeah, the struggle was internal. And I think that a lot of people who are gay, bisexual, and transgendered have the same struggle when they believe in God. I had a very strong calling on my life at around 10 years old, and I was a fixture in our community church, and I loved the Lord. I loved learning. I had this feeling that I was connected to something greater than myself, even at a very young age. Mm-hmm. But then I was going to a church around the corner where the pastor said one Sunday that God does not like faggots, and he used the word faggots in the pulpit.
Wow.
And I sat there, and I was a child. I sat there devastated. It was like someone had, I feel like he was talking to me directly. When you have those feelings, I feel like people are talking directly to you. I felt really confused. It's like, well, that doesn't kind of settle with how I feel about God and what I'm feeling He's doing within me and through me. But yet the man in a pulpit who represents God is saying that God doesn't like people like me. So there was a conflict right there. And then the conflict grew because as I developed, I kind of moved away. They call it church hurt, right? So I moved away from church because it kept hurting me. It kept saying very inappropriate things about me, about people who are like me. So I had to really love God and find God on my own, and that was the actual struggle. And then I discovered I was transgendered, and then going into my transition, that was more of a conflict. Who am I? Am I really a woman? Am I a man? what does this mean? You know, who do I have sex with? And then I met a girl, and then I liked this girl, and that was new. And well, you know, if I like girls, and I'm transitioning, am I still gay or trans? It was a lot. I dealt with a lot. And at a time where there was no internet, this is like 1990, 91. There were no social media. I didn't have any real resource to actually, no resources and no sense of community, not really, to kind of help me navigate my feelings and navigate my sadness and everything. So it was quite difficult.
You actually segued perfectly to another part in the book. I needed to demonstrate through my non-action a better example of God's grace, mercy, and love in the face of unspeakable church hurt and rejection. There was a part in the book, and when you wrote that part, everybody that was around me felt what was going on and understood church hurt. Talk to me a little bit about church hurt, because I want to explore how did you even move on with the church after that choir thing, and that's all I'm gonna say.
That's a great question, because unfortunately, some of us can't move on, right? And you know that's a problem, and that's why I'm here. Some of us cannot move on from church hurt. Church hurt is the kind of hurt that like sneaks up on you, because I was already reticent about kind of like going to this particular church in Miami. Once again, the unctioning or the calling, the pulling of God on my spirit, I had to be a part of some kind of church, some kind of body of Christ where I can learn, where I can grow, where I can actually express myself. So in the first couple of months, I said nothing. I went there every Sunday. I went there every Tuesday. Anytime that we had a church service, I was available. I was there. Lending my tithes, my offerings, my support. I was just there for anything that the body of Christ needed us to actually do. And so one Sunday, this is like a year in, they were calling, you know what, we need people to serve in the choir and other church ministries. You know, this a body of Christ. You know, use your talent. Don't sit on your God-given talent. So I was sitting in a pulpit for about a year and a half, possibly more. So hearing every Sunday, use your talent, and I'm growing in grace, right? And I was saying, you know what, maybe this church is different. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to show up when they tell us to show up, and I'm going to sing my heart out, and I'm going to put all that other church hurt behind me, and be healed, right? But that didn't happen.
Nope.
I got myself up. I got dressed. I went in that one Saturday to sing in the choir, because there were no auditions. So it was not based on talent or your ability. It was based on your availability to actually, want to be part of the choir. So they couldn't say, you know what, you can't be part of the choir because you can't sing. But truthfully, I can't sing. I wanted to actually serve. So I got there, and immediately when I got on the pulpit, I heard a sea of whispers. It was like, and I sat down, and I'm there, but I heard right immediately. Me and my friend, and she's a cisgendered girlfriend of mine. She heard it, and I knew immediately that I was in the wrong space. And I got that phone call. The phone call wasn't nice. It was not nice. We read about it. It was not nice.
Yeah.
I'll just say that. They were shady.
Yeah, they were shady. Like that phone. So he got that phone call.
They were shady.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But how did you move on? Did you continue going to that church? Did you go to a
I did.
Okay.
And let me tell you why. I still went to the church, even though, you know what? I'll just say this. I went to the church because I'm gonna get deep here. The Lord told me to.
Okay.
Even though I was in pain, I was crying, I was in pain. I went to church the next day. It was a Sunday.
Wow.
Wrapped in pain. All of my friends, we had like a little like an LGBT, clan of friends. We all went. It took everything in me to walk through church doors. I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. I felt dirty. I felt like a freak, but I was being obedient to God. And at that point, I didn't know what God was doing in my life, or quite frankly saying. My friends around me were like, "You are as crazy can be," because I was getting other people's advice. Jasmine, you should go to the media because they were a mega church. Girl, go to the media. Tell them so and so. Girl, you can get on TV and you can sue. I heard that from one friend. One friend said, call the senior pastor and this is not right and you should make a whole stink about it. All of their suggestions came from their heart, and I really loved them for that. But in my opinion, then it was going to put me at a disadvantage because my goal was to unite people in the church. My goal was to change minds and hearts, and I'm going to do that by suing folk.
Right.
You don't change minds by suing folk, by into the church pocket. You don't do that, right?
Right.
That's a no-no. And you don't do it by going there cussing and carrying on, because I was transgendered. Everyone knew it. My mistake was initially because I was in a bad space. I told people who I was because I needed spiritual guidance, and I told people like who I was in my journey, and maybe I should not have been so transparent. That's something else I might have, I've learned from too as well. So I did that, and my goal was to, even at the expense of me, because it was bigger than me. This was about God. This was about God's love and grace and mercy, on the church, on people like me, people like you, people like everyone in the body of Christ. Even through their ignorance, I was told by the Holy Spirit to stand. And standing, it was painful. It cost me. So I went there. I went there every single Sunday thereafter. And the more I went, eventually I became very bitter. But what happened was, people are always looking at you. When you're transgender, if you're gay, if you're Black, if you're in a space where you are the minority, when people hurt you and they know that they've caused harm, they stand back and they look at your reaction to see how you're going to react to their harm. When they throw daggers, they're going to sit back and see how you're going to bleed out. And I felt that. And what happened was, it wasn't senior leadership at first that I saw a change in. It was in the church body.
Oh, wow.
Church goers. People were outraged when they heard, because we told one person, and it ran through the whole entire church that, honey, they weren't having it. And the people in the pulpit were outraged, and they began to embrace me, and I would still come, and I would still smile, and I would still come praising God with the with joy in my heart, and they saw it, and it changed people's minds about trans people, because for some people, I was the first trans person they had contact with.
Right.
And it's very important that if you know that it's you're the first impression mean a lot. Or go off and lose your mind, and you're the first trans person that they have contact with, and they hear all of the negative stereotypes about your group.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So like, first of all, you're here giving a word. Like, seriously, you are here giving a word. I'm over here like,
absolutely. My goodness.
So I want to talk to another part of the book where you talked about when you're transgender and pass as a woman, society would give you physical and emotional, sometimes financial pass. When beautiful, one has resources at their disposal and more opportunities. That is another thing, because I've heard that a lot. So it really like resonated with me. Talk to us a little bit about that, because those that are watching now and will watch it later on, tell them what that means. That pass factor.
Yeah, sure. Passing is very important. Don't get me wrong. It's very important if you're gender passing for female, if you're born male, or if you're born female passing for male. There is a certain level of privilege that goes into passing. Privilege is not just a term for race or for socioeconomic status. There are other veins of privilege that even if you're a male, there's male privilege regardless of your race. You don't have as much privilege if you're a black man as opposed to a white man. So the privilege of passing as a female is really great, because you kind of bypass a lot of the stigma and the prejudice. You have the opportunity to live a more socially acceptable, if that quote makes any sense, lifestyle, if that's your choice. Meaning that if you go into a job interview and you have the credentials for that job and you look like a woman, the employer is going to look at your credentials, most likely.
Yeah.
And your ability to do the work. If you walk in with the same credentials and you look questionably female, you may have a different outcome.
Yeah.
Depending on the interviewer, depending on the workplace. If they're not gay friendly or trans friendly, it might be difficult.
Yeah.
And of course, and this conversation kind of runs into why trans women and trans men, but not as much, go to such great lengths to look passable, to the point where they put themselves in danger physically.
That goes right into my next line. Like, you are like, like literally, that's my next line. Body dysmorphic disorder. I know a lot of trans folk that experience that, and I see it. Tell us about your journey with that. When did you realize, and what have you done? Because I loved how you talked. First of all, let me tell the readers that you drop names. Because when you dropped Miss Honey's name from Manhattan, I was like, oh, I know her. Because I'm from New York. I was like, oh, she dropped that name. So you want to know what these people we're talking about? They're all in the book. But yeah, so tell us. So you talked about like the body modification that you went through. That's where I was going with that. Talk to us about your body dysmorphic disorder, and just talk to us about that.
Sure. It's a disorder where you the image, your body image, you don't really see what's actually there. For example, you may see your nose as being super large, so large that it draws attention, so large that people won't date you, so large that you look terrible, and that may not be the reality, but you do see that, and you are reacting to something that's not real. Your perception is not accurate. So for me, like my perception of my body was I did not have a feminine body, even though I had a bunch of silicone injections. I had 3 boob jobs. I had several nose jobs. I had all of this work because I was not seeing what the doctors were seeing in reality. I would get off the surgical table, rip off my bandages, and be like, I'm still the same. I'm still that same boy who began my transition. And that's not true. And because I kept seeing the same image, and trans women see the same image, they'll get more injections because they don't see that big giant butt that you see. They see something else. They don't see themselves looking less and less and less female and more like something else. They think they're on track to looking like the beautiful woman that they see in their mind being. It's not. It's really a distortion of perception. Really, it is very dangerous. Yes. For example, my Aunt Mary, she'll say what's on her mind. I was living in Miami. I was about maybe 30 years old, and I traveled from Miami to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania to see her. And when I walked in the door, she screamed. She was like, "Oh my God, my baby got that HIV. My baby was dying.
Wow.
Jesus, help me." Because I was anorexic.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know that I was.
Okay.
I was literally almost like 85 pounds. 88
Oh, wow.
Pounds.
Oh, wow.
I'm 5'7", so that's pretty thin. But I had like the butt and the breast, but everything else was like emaciated. I was like, "What are you talking about? I'm lovely, child. I'm just lovely." She was in tears. I was sick. And that, so even though she saw me very thin, I didn't see it, and I didn't get that treated for like another year later.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I got sick from losing so much weight, and I had to be hospitalized.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah, because in my mind, I was healthy because I was eating healthy. I cut out eating meat. I cut out eating bread. I cut out eating like breads. To me, in my mind, I'm healthy. In my mind, I look good. I'm going to the gym. I'm doing like 1,000 crunches a day. Those are healthy behaviors, but I was not eating.
Oh, wow. Wow. I asked that question because you're a nurse. I thought that was, that was a great story about your journey being a nurse. Talk to us about why that was important to have that accomplishment.
Very important. You know what? I'll tell people this. I always had the aptitude to kind of like, be anything I wanted to be. I knew I could. When I began the transition, I kept hearing that trans girls just weren't really going to school. They weren't really doing a whole lot. I had moved from Bethlehem down to Philadelphia, and this was like 1993. And walking down South Street, I saw a trans woman outside of a facility, and she looked professional. She was obviously trans, or meaning I would say she was still like transitioning, almost in the beginning stages of her transition. And she was talking with doctors, and that image appealed to me because that image I've never seen before. I've never seen someone who is transgendered commanding a conversation, and with men around, all in white lab coats. And I was like, you know what? I want to know who she is and what she does. I was maybe, I don't know, 21, 22 at that age. Wow. And I was bold. So I walked up to this chick and, hi, I'm so-and-so, and, what do you do?
Yeah, you did. You did. I remember that in the book because that's kind of exactly what you did.
And she was so caught off, like, hi. So what I liked about the situation was, for the very first time, trans women and people in general, you have to see images of yourself at work, images of yourself in the position of someone who's a supervisor, or who's a doctor, or who's a lawyer. It inspires you because you begin to dream, that you can actually be these things, because you can see representation of yourself already at work. Right. And I saw, even though she was Caucasian, I saw myself being where she's at. I wanted to know how to do it. So that was the beginning of my journey to becoming a nurse. And because I had some other issues, it was not not smooth sailing. There's always some bumps along the road. So
talking about a bump, the lady in church from the woman's thing. Oh, I was mad for you. I was mad for you in the book. Oh, I was mad for
you.
I love your response too. It was just like
yes. you know church protocol.
Yeah.
You're in church and you there, and I'm praising God. I'm just get my little church on, and then the whole atmosphere changed, and then that happened, and you're like, do I click off in church? Do I beat her down in the sanctuary? Do I pull her wig off like right here? Like, what do I do?
And all of those have been acceptable because she tried it. She tried it. Oh, I was gay. I was like, what would I do? Like, what would I have done? I don't know what I would have done.
I clutched pearls and yeah, it was.
Get the book, y'all. Y'all have no idea. Get the book, y'all. Aunt Missy patched a leaking heart with fried chicken made with unconditional love.
Yes.
Tell us about Aunt Missy.
Aunt Missy. Aunt Missy is my father's sister. I think she's my father's youngest sister, and my sissy, my Aunt Missy. And she is no nonsense, and but she has a feel about stuff, right? And she's very intuitive. So when I went to Philadelphia that one weekend, she just felt something was off, and she wanted, and it might have been in my countenance too, because I was like sick to my stomach, like I was just like sick to my stomach. I didn't know what to actually do, and she might have sensed it because I'm not going to tell her own story, but like I said in my book, this is generational without telling her story too as well. So there was a connection there, but without and this is a lesson about how to treat people, because you never know where people are in their psychology. Because I was in a very low place, and she didn't know what had happened, what had transpired. She only knew that she had to really just love me through it. Oh. And her way to do it was very simple. Child, go in there, girl, and make you a plate. You look distraught. And and we'll talk about it when you can.
Yeah. I love that. I was just like, that is every bit of like, oh, auntie or grandma. It's just like, whatever happened. Just come over here.
Yes.
And we'll deal with the details later.
Yes. I love that. And when she read the book, because she never knew. She never knew. I never told her until she read it in a book, and she was hysterical. She called me on the phone. Maybe it took her like 2 days to read the book. I mean, she got raced through it because she knew the actors. She knew the people in the book, but she didn't know all of my story, And she called me crying. She was hysterical. Yeah. So we had a good old cry. Yeah. And for me, I'm always patient, because I never forget that even though this is my story, I gave it to the world because I had to. It's not easy to sit down and write a book about you being a prostitute. That's not something that without God that I'm proud of. It's not something that I want everyone to know without God. And when I say that, I said it twice, is because God told me to write my book. And not only that, because God will tell you to do something, and then He will provide a way for you to do it. I cried and prayed the entire time. I wrote for 9 months. I laughed, cried, and prayed the whole entire time. And He will guide me. There are words and phrases in that book that didn't come from me. They came from the Lord. I swear to you not. There are things that I meditated on. I was like, oh, that's good. That came from me. that's deep. Like I dug deep. And I really surprised myself time and time again when I would write and then put it away for like a day or two and come back and reread and like, wow, I'm learning from my own story. Now that's something when you learn from your own story.
Yeah, absolutely. So you just tied in a couple of things that I'm actually ready to go to. So I want you to tell me about two experiences, and there's so many experiences I want you to tell me about actually. But there's two experiences I really want you to talk about. And I'm gonna just read a line and then give a name. First, I want you to talk about, in less clinical terms, homeboy snapped. And he was sweating and pacing the floor as he spoke. I don't know how you made it out of that one. And tell me about, Big Vicky.
Okay. Which one first? So
tell me about homeboy. Tell me about homeboy first, and then you can tell me about Miss Vicky.
Got it. So in my book, I was a call girl, right? Which means that in layman's terms, I was not on the street selling my wares. I was on websites that cost $200-300 a month to actually maintain. And my price point, they were high for some people. So they were like, $300, $400, $500 per hour. So in saying that, I over time amassed a clientele where my name and my number would be passed, in in this underground celebrity kind of like way. And there's a way that celebrities contact, whether they're down low brothers and they want to, pay for like a guy, for like a guy on guy session, trans girls, even like, cisgender females, for display, right? So I came in contact with one of those. They were very well known. When I saw them, I knew exactly who they were. And just like a lot of men who identify as being heterosexual, who enjoy the company of trans women because they want to experience real exotic kind of sexuality, sex, without labeling it. And the danger that I found in that is that there is sometimes buyer's remorse because people are not comfortable with their emerging sexuality. They don't know what to call it, and therefore, he simply could not call it, anything other than he was, he couldn't say that I'm bisexual, that I like penis attached to a girl, because if he says any of those things in his mind, that will make him less than in his mind. And he could not really deal with that as a man, as a person. And that's a social construct, especially in the Black community, right? So, and you know how it is when you're doing the hormones are spiked. The second that you ejaculate, you come to your senses. And sometimes when these men, come down, they're like, what do we do? Did I just put that there and you put that there and I suck this and you suck that and oh my God, and and then the reality hit this guy flat on, and he was not having it. Not besides him personally, he was someone who was very well known, and he was afraid that I was going. Now I had this information on him that I was going to expose him, and he was not having it. That's what I'm gonna say.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I was like, oh my God, what's she gonna do?
Listen, baby, listen. I'm from South Philadelphia. We can go there. Like I may not can beat you, but I'll knock you crazy. Yeah. Just one good time and head for the door. Just one good time.
Just one good time. Oh, talk to us about Big Vicky.
Big Vicky. Oh my gosh. So once again, Big Vicky was a client that I just saw once. And when you get these calls, they're called out calls. When you travel outside of your home, you don't know what you're getting. If you don't know who they are, you don't know what you're getting. And same thing in this case, I did not know who they were, what issues they were kind of going through. But Vicky was partying for a very long time before I got there, and she had an episode that almost didn't end so well. That almost ended with a coroner. And I got my black ass out of there. I had to put heels. Listen, I'm a nurse the whole 9 yards, but listen, this nurse should not be here.
And it's so funny how you went through that. Like your brain went from like being a nurse and it's just like, okay, wait a minute, I'm this, and then this is the situation. It's like, yeah, let me get out of here.
And it's funny how because when I'm writing, I wrote that whole entire scene. I try to go step by step, but in reality, when it happened, my brain was just everywhere because I'm thinking like two people, right? At the same time. Right. I'm thinking like, the call girl and why she, in this really nice place, very affluent place, and I'm thinking like a nurse, like, no, I have a, obligation to help someone, and I have a helping spirit, and yeah. But if I call 911, we both leaving.
Yeah.
Him in the ambulance and me in cuffs. So do I want this?
Yeah. I thought, when I read that part, I thought of that scene from Pose. I thought about that. I thought about everybody. I was like, oh my, does she have a body in the closet? I definitely was like, oh my God. But she doesn't. Everybody watching, she does not have a body in the closet.
You know what? That situation got really serious, and just like these clients, no gratitude whatsoever, none. Matter of fact, he threw shade.
Right. That's
brother, he threw massive shade.
Oh my God!
Help you out.
Right. Oh my God. Well, I was like, and she's shady. And she's throwing shade. Excuse you. On the way out the door, she's throwing shade.
Yes. But Kenya, I kept it moving.
You did. You kept it out the door.
I didn't go back in and beat him down. I kept it moving.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. So I've met you when I first met you was at Fajas.
Yes.
Great people at Fajas. I love everybody over there. You have a really, really, really great story about Fajas. So shout out to everybody over there at Fajas. I don't think I know anybody has had that experience from their job supporting them through such a difficult time. I'll say that was such a difficult time. When you said all them hours driving back and forth, I was like, oh my mama wouldn't do that.
Let me tell you something. It really changed my life. It changed how I saw people because I had all this trauma, all this baggage that I did not resolve, that I was not healed from, but I knew that I wanted a change, right? And once I got someplace where I could exhale, but I was afraid to exhale too completely, because I was never quite safe anywhere until that point. So I went back, I went to what I knew. We go back to what we know. Even if it's not comfortable anymore, we go back to what we know for self-preservation. But Fajas is an organization, and I will shout it from the rooftops that these are salt of the earth people. I don't know where they get a whole entire organization of people who just are like-minded. We came together and they were supportive, they were helpful, and I was not the best employee initially. I was a nurse, I was good at that. But baby, when you call me in for a meeting at 9:00, I'm not being there at 9:00.
Wow. And they still supported you.
They still did.
Amazing.
And let me really tell you why. When they said 9 o'clock, I come waltzing in at like 9:20, 9:30. All because, listen, and this is key. They knew that I had talent, but they were trying to wait out that whole mentality. They didn't say that because they didn't really know what was going on.
Right.
But they knew that I was someone that had demonstrated having skills, and I love people, and I could get the job done. But Jasmine just, she just can't get her on time, or that there's other issues going on. But they had no idea what I was doing outside of work that caused all this, stress. And then when I kind of got in that situation, read the book.
Read the book.
My God. JV, I got in that situation. The ED, this before he was ED, Joseph, and he's gonna kill me if I just say that. I don't say Joseph, and Joseph is now he's my dearest friend. He thought enough of me to drive 200 miles to see about an employee 2 days in a row, right after work. Yeah. So this man, I'm getting emotional. I'm gonna cry. Don't you dare do this to me. Because his kindness changed me as a person.
Yeah.
Because I have before that experienced so much cruelty, right? And he wanted nothing in return, just for me to just be okay.
Right. And
very few people just want you just to be okay. I want nothing from you, just you be okay.
Yeah.
Even if you don't stay here at Fajas and you go back to Miami, I want you to still be okay.
Be okay. Yeah. That was.
So and he drove. After working like 8-9 hours, he drove down there and back, and then the next day was a Friday, so he drove down there and he waited another 3 hours till I got myself together and got myself out.
Wow.
Yeah. And didn't even lecture me, because he would actually have like every right to help me and then lecture me. Didn't do that. Shout out to Jason. Shout out to Foz.
Everybody I've met over there has been great. It's just like people that you run into and you just know they're good people. That's just everybody I've met. Everybody I've met at Foz has been good.
I mean, well, let me keep it real. When I first met him, I did not know that he was a good people, because I was just this. I was a new employee, and he was relatively new when we first met, and like I didn't really care for him because he wanted me to actually work. Like he was my supervisor, and he was like, "I want you to actually work," and I was like, "I'm not doing that. I'm not. I don't want to work. Like I want to get a paycheck and kind of ease on into it." He wanted me to have like responsibility with like a real ITY. I was like, okay. So initially we bumped heads quite a bit, and then after we, after I had that epiphany, we were so close. We became so close because he became my mentor, because I wanted to have that kind of spirit. I wanted to be in a position where I could help someone in that capacity the way he helped me, and show that kind of grace and kindness. I wanted that.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a sweet story. It was like just reading the book, and so many things was just happening, and then that like act of kindness was just like we don't see that often.
I know.
Really quickly, I want to talk about your dad. There's so many things about your dad and the experiences you had with him. Um, from the $5 bill all the way to your last interaction. How have you reconciled that relationship? Or just within yourself, right? Just like what is that like to walk around with that knowledge experience? I don't even know what to do with that one.
Yes. I reconciled it with myself and with God this way. My father is not able or capable at this time to have a healthy, nurturing relationship with his children, in particular me, right? I'm going to love him from a distance, and that love may not look like the same kind of love that someone might display to a parent that has always been there. I don't know how much I love my father to be honest, you know.
Right.
Yeah. So we don't speak. I don't want that relationship.
Right.
I tried to have it more than once through the course of my life. It's always ended badly because of the kind of man my father is. And that's no reflection on me. It used to be a reflection on me. I made it about me. As a kid, I made it about me. My father doesn't want me because I must be a bad kid because I was gay and trans, and I made it about me. No, I am a warm, kind, smart woman with talent, and I'm gonna claim that, right?
Yes.
And I'm not for everybody.
Right.
I learned that. I'm gonna carve a platform in this world. I'm gonna do good where I can do good. I'm gonna write books, and this is just my first book. I'm gonna write books. Praise God. That's going to inspire. That's going to provoke thought in people, not just trans people, but people in general. I'm going to have a voice in this world. I'm going to celebrate myself and celebrate people like me. And I'm going to praise God all the way doing it.
Yes.
So I'm not for everybody, and that's fine. It took me 40-something years to really understand that. I'm not for everybody, and that's okay. And you know what? I'm going to say this. I'm going to live out loud because I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't have this platform because trans women, I am Black, and those stats, right? I'm Black, I am trans, those stats. We're triply we're at risk of succumbing to drugs and to disease and to violence. 3 or 4 times more than any other group, right?
Right.
And then of course I engaged in sex work for more than 35 years. And that's not an exaggeration because I began as a 14-year-old kid. And I stopped when I was 46.
Whoa. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yes.
Jasmine, you start the book off at the surgery suite and you end the book off with a couple pages of pictures of your family. Was that intentional?
Yes.
Yeah.
because I'm still in the surgery suite. I didn't conclude that. Why is that?
You did. I caught that. I was like, is she gonna go back? Is she gonna what's gonna happen afterwards? I have a selfish question. Are you gonna do an audiobook?
Yes. Yes, I am. I'm, I'm in a joke today on Facebook. I was like, I start recording August, and I am someone that I have a few challenges, right? Which I have learned to embrace. And this is funny, like God is like hilarious, right? He's hilarious. I love him. I have been given such a big voice and a big platform, and I have a stutter. Mm-hmm. And that is like hilarious. Like no, that's funny. Like no shit. Like that's funny. Because I speak for a living.
Right.
Like how many people, would actually have the gumption to actually, use their deficit and use it as a complete strength in their life to motivate and inspire,
right?
And not have any fear doing it. Like I'll do an interview, and if I said a little bit, listen, this is who I am. If you're gonna interview me, you may be like a little bit of there. Listen, I had to embrace it. I had to embrace it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No more fear. No more fear. No more fear. Fear kills. Kills us.
Yes, Jasmine. This has been great. I can't wait to hear the audiobook. I'm gonna tell you. So I started reading the book, and then I had to go on a road trip, right? And I drove to North Carolina, so it was about a 7-hour ride with like 2 kids, bathroom.
Okay. Oh.
So I would read, and my partner would read. So all of us in the car heard your book, because he would read it to me as I was driving.
Oh, really?
And I was just like, oh, this would be great in the audiobook. So that's where that came from.
Yes.
Oh, yes, audiobook.
Yeah.
This would be great.
Yes. Come August, so we'll see how long it takes.
Okay, awesome. Everybody, Jasmine, this has been so good. I'm so thankful that you was able to join us. Everybody, please buy the book, Flight of a Beautiful Lie, a memoir by Jasmine Christine Ford. Jasmine, any last words for anyone that's watching tonight or watching in the future?
Yes, I'll say this. The book is more about God's love and grace and mercy than about me. It's about how I was a recipient of love and grace and didn't know it for the entire journey of my entire life. And this book is not just for trans women. This may be about one trans person having a trans experience. But this book can speak to those who are experiencing mental health issues, childhood abandonment, sexual abuse, transitioning. This book speaks to many different groups of people. So read it, and it's going to make you laugh and possibly cry, but it's real and it happened. And I'm just so thankful to God that He chose me for the journey. While going through it, it wasn't fun, but on the other side, when you're healed, oh my God! Listen, let me tell you something. There's something very deep about being utterly found. Well, first being utterly lost, and then being utterly found, because that extreme difference, that categorical opposition of being so lost that you don't know where you are,
right?
And now that you're found and you have a platform, and that you can only do more. I'm going to write more. I'm going to speak more. I'm going to be more visible and help people wherever I'm wanted and needed. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. You can buy the book at Barnes & Noble online. Just go to the website. Type it. Look, you can just type in Jasmine Christine Ford and the book will pop up, because that's what I did too.
Okay.
You can do that.
And it's coming in Kindle format this week. So yes.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Kindle
yes. Ebooks.
Yes.
Ebooks.
it's a great book. I want so much people to read it. Again, thank you so much for spending an hour with us this evening, Jasmine.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
No problem, everyone. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.